Did you know there are some solar storms coming towards Earth actually right now? This weekend, next weekend, a couple of weeks from now. Therefore, you have a chance to see Northern Light or Aurora. But do you know how to predict when you should go out to see Northern Light, and to know how to take picture of Northern Light? Which settings should you use and which gears should you bring with you? I'm gonna answer those questions in this video, plus some tips and tricks. Hello everyone, my name is Hamid Bank and I am a landscape and nature photographer based in Sweden. In this video, I'm going to talk about Northern Light and how we can see, predict and take picture of Northern Light or Aurora. But what is Aurora? What causes Aurora? When a solar storm comes towards us, some energy and small particles will travel through the magnetic field, and the magnetic field of the Earth will push those energy and particles away, and they will go into the north and south poles of our planet. Some of them they might suck into the atmosphere around the poles. When these particles interact with the gas in our atmosphere, it's resulting in a beautiful, magical display in the sky. Oxygen, for instance, creates green and red lights. So the lower part of the atmosphere turns into greens and the higher part of the atmosphere turns to red. But how can we predict and use this information to predict Aurora? There are many apps and websites to predict Northern Light, but there are two apps that are my go-to apps for predicting Northern Light, and both of these apps are free, by the way. The first one is Aurora, or My Aurora. You can find it on Google Play and App Store. And as I said, it's free to download. This app gives you real-time possibility of seeing Northern Light based on your location. So as you can see in the first page of this app, we have the KP index and the chance of seeing Northern Light based on my location. And the KP index right now is quite high, it's 5.6, and that's amazing. It's like a very strong Northern Light happening right now when I'm recording this video. And if I click on the map, it shows me exactly where on the Earth you can see Northern Light. The second page of the app, at the first section, you have the probability of seeing Northern Light based on your location for up to 30 minutes. And then you have the cloud coverage. But I'm not going to rely on this app for cloud coverage. I'm going to use another apps to check the weather, like windy or clear sky. Those are apps that I use the most for checking the cloud coverage. Then if you scroll down, you have the history of Northern Light or KP in last few hours. Why do you care about the history of KP? Because then you can see the trend, how it has changed in last few hours. For instance, this morning when I checked the app, there was no prediction for KP5 or even KP6 for tonight. But right now you can see that we have KP 5.67. The next section is upcoming hours, and you can see that these are all red, and means that we have a very strong activity happening until tomorrow midday. You can scroll this part and see the upcoming 24 hours here. The next section is prediction for upcoming days, and the last one is the long-term prediction. Well, you can see what's gonna happen in 1 week or 2 weeks from now. The second app that I'm using is called Calendar app. You cannot find this on Google Play and App Store, I believe. To install this app, you need to go to their website. I will leave the link to their website in the description of this video. You can download the installation package and install it on your phone. I trust this app, but you will do it at your own risk. The good thing about Calendar app is that it shows me exactly what's happening right now. And then also you can use it to predict upcoming hours. So the first section is live reports. That's very interesting because people actually use this app and they post a report that they have seen Aurora or not. You also have a chance, as you can see here, if I see Aurora, I can hit on yes, Aurora, or I haven't seen it, or the sky was cloudy. So you can report those, and these are reflecting immediately on the map, and everyone can see what's happening right now. Main part of this app is based on the information here. You have a word that right now it says expansion, then you have a number, and then you have an arrow. But what are those? First of all, in this app, there is an explanation box. Then if you can click on that and you can see exactly what this information is all about. I can summarize it for you. The word expansion means that this energy is releasing to the atmosphere, so you have aurora happening. The number is the strength of the solar storm, and you want this number MT to be minus and as minus as possible. So the lower this number is, it's actually better. And the arrow is indicating how it's going to be in near future. So if the arrow points down, that means the number goes down, which is good. If the arrow points up, that means the number will go up, and then the substorm will lose the energy. Oh, as you can see right now, the number goes down a little bit. So this is very good because we can see this app is based on real-time information from the satellites and also the reports of the people. If the word says expansion, that means that it's releasing energy. If it says growth, that means it's charging up like a battery. And if it says recovery, that means loses the energy. So the aurora will die or fade away. The next section is interplanetary magnetic field data. So you have the table, and if you have the next and now row in this table are lit up, as you can see, they are lit up now. They are quite red. That means that the activity in the sky will continue if there is one, or it will happen. You can wait 1 or 2 hours and then you will get another activity in the sky. And in this part, in this graph, there are 3 lines. The most important one is the middle one, and you want it to be below the blue shaded area, which is the ambient light, and you want it to be as close as possible to the black line here. You have pictures of the sun in this app as well. There's pictures of the surface of the sun right now, 4 days ago and 27 days ago. But why do we care about what looked like on sun 4 days ago or 27 days ago? What happens 4 days ago is what affects us now. You see these black spots on the surface of the sun? Those are the source of the solar storm, which causes aurora. And the bigger they are, and if they face air, then we will get some storm, solar storm that coming towards us, and we will get some aurora. What do we care about 27 days ago? That's because the sun rotates around itself in 27 days. So if you had a spot, a big one, that was 27 days ago facing towards Earth, it will rotate and come back to us in the next 27 days. So there is a chance that we'll get another big storm and display in the sky. So if you like this information so far, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification. So when I share more tips and tricks in photography, you will be notified. Okay, now we know how to predict the northern light. What else do we need? We need the clear sky and we need a dark sight. First of all, we need to have a cloudless sky. You can check other weather apps to see if the sky is clear the night you want to go out or not. But I don't mind to have a little bit of clouds in the sky in my pictures, because I think they add to the image. Not always, of course, but sometimes. Like these photos. In this one, as you can see, the clouds reflect the colors in the sky. I had greens and reds from the aurora. I have the blue colors from the starry sky, and the clouds reflect some of the city lights and turn yellow. So I have the full spectrum of colors in the sky in this image. Besides clear sky, you need the dark side as well. To find a good dark side, check the light pollution maps. You can just Google light pollution maps, and you can find dark places on Earth where you can be away from light pollution. Northern light photography is not exactly like astrophotography. If there is a little bit of light pollution, you will still be able to see northern light and take picture of that. In fact, I have seen pictures of northern lights above big cities like Stockholm. So if the display is strong enough, you will be able to see and photograph it even with the light pollutions. Actually, some pictures I took from northern light, they weren't too far from the city where I live, like 15 minutes out, and I will be able to find it dark enough sight to see and take picture of northern light. The last parameter in dark night is moon, but I will talk about the moonlight at the end of this video. Now we know how to predict northern light. What gears do we need? The first and most important gear you need is actually a head torch. It doesn't need to be very strong. I have this one which has a red light. It's good for reading the environment, look at the camera without blinding my eyes in the dark night. And also it has the white light as well, which is great to read and see the environment when I'm walking. So the head torch is very important. You can of course use something like that, which is very strong. This one has a zoom light, so if I want to shine something far away from me, this is really good. But as I said, you don't need such a strong head torch. The next very important piece of gear you need to have is actually clothing. Layers of clothes and warm gloves, hats and everything, just to protect yourself. The night can get very cold, especially when you are waiting for Aurora to happen. You're waiting like a couple of hours on the spot and it can get very chilly. For camera gears, of course you need a camera. What kind of camera do you need? It really doesn't matter. You can take picture of northern light with APS-C cameras, full frame cameras, medium format cameras, even micro four thirds cameras. The sensor size is not that important. Of course, the bigger the sensor is, it's gonna produce cleaner images in high ISO settings. But many of modern cameras can handle noise very well. And of course, we have some AI noise reduction solution to solve noise problem. So I'm not too worried about noise. My camera is Fuji X-T5. It's a 40 megapixel crop sensor, but actually I found it to produce nice and good images, even in dark situations. So I really have no issue with pictures I'm taking with this camera. The lens actually is the most important piece of gear in terms of photography. So you need a wide angle lens with a fast aperture. Why you need a wide angle lens? Because usually the display on the sky is vast and you want to capture all of it. Also with wide angle lens, you have usually more depth of field. You can easily get more of your foreground in focus as well. And you need to have a wide aperture on the lens so you can gather more light and reduce your shutter speed when you take a picture of northern light. The lens I usually use for northern light photography nowadays is this one, Viltrox 13mm f1.4. This lens produces beautiful images. I really love this one. And at 1.4, it creates absolutely sharp images in the center. Also in the corners is good, but the stars in the corners got smeared, or we have a coma problem at f1.4. But if I step down to f2, still I can gather enough light, and this will produce corner to corner sharp images. And of course, the last piece of gear for photography you need, it's a good tripod, because you're gonna take a long exposure and your camera need to be stable and steady through the shots. So now, which setting should you use to take picture of northern light? The most important setting is the shutter speed. Northern light is moving and depends on its speed. You want to adjust your shutter speed. You don't want it to be too long, because then it becomes a blurred blob, and you want to see the lines and all the structure in the northern light. So the lower the speed is, the better, but you need to let the camera gathers enough light as well. I found something between 4 seconds to 8 seconds is optimal shutter speed for northern light photography. Of course, as I said, depends on the strength of the light and the speed. We can adjust these settings. Usually going beyond 8 seconds make the northern lights a little bit blurred. 15 seconds definitely is not very good for northern light photography, and below 4 seconds usually you don't get that much light unless it's a very strong and powerful display in the sky. For the aperture or iris on your lens, put it on the lowest number on your lens, and maybe if you close it down just a little bit, like 1 or 2 clicks, then it should give you better image quality. Of course, the downside of using wide aperture is that your depth of field gets narrow and you don't get all the parts of the landscape in focus. I will talk about how you can tackle that problem at the end of this video. The last parameter on your camera that you can change and set is ISO. It of course depends on the ambient light and the other settings, but you can set the ISO from like 800 to 6400. I found 3200 is the sweetest spot for my camera and my settings that I'm using usually. And of course it depends on the ambient light you have available as well. Of course, what is most important is you have a good exposure in your photo. So if you need to raise your ISO, do it, because it will gives you cleaner images. If your ISO is low and you gain it up later on in the post because the image is dark, you produce more noise. Now we set the settings and we have our gears, how we can focus in the darkness and how we can find a composition. For the composition, it's best if you have been there in the daylight and you found the composition you want to take picture of. As I mentioned, keep in mind that you have to look towards north, because in north hemisphere, most of the time, northern lights happen towards north. But if you are in the dark, if you arrive in a place that you hadn't had the chance to explore before, still you can find compositions. Use your head torch to see, look around, and try to find a composition, and then set your camera, take a test shot, then review the picture in back of your screen, adjust the composition, and take another test shot until you are happy with the composition. It might take a little time and you don't need to be worried about focus and settings. Just take a picture, raise the ISO as high as you can just to have something. When you nail the composition, then you can dial in your settings and how you can focus. You can find a very bright star, zoom in on that star, not with your lens, but on the back of your camera on the screen, zoom in to that star and try to manually nail the focus and leave it there. You can also mark it on your lens if you want with some tapes, and when you are out there, you can easily find where should you focus. The other way you can focus in the darkness is using a head torch again. If you have a strong head torch or you have someone with you, you can ask them to go into the scene and point the head torch or hold the head torch, and you can use them as a focus point. This method might not give you the most focused stars, but it gives you the good focus on your environment. Now let's talk about the moonlight. I promise you to talk about the moonlight, if it's helping us in taking picture of northern light, or is it our enemy? If you search online, the answer you get usually is that you should avoid moonlight when you take picture of northern light. But I found moonlight actually to help us in 3 ways. The first one is actually safety, because then you can see your environment when you have moonlight. You don't step on rocks or hurt yourself in any way. The second way it helps us is to finding composition. When you have ambient light, you can see better, and then also you can focus easier. And the last way moonlight actually helps is you can lower your ISO and you can produce cleaner images. As you can see in this picture, for instance, I had full moon, and I'm very happy with the image. It looks like that I took this image in the daylight. Also in this image, I had some moonlight, and it helped me a lot to navigate the environment, which I haven't been before. I just arrived at this location at night, and I could manage to find nice compositions and take some good pictures of northern light and the environment. And the bonus number 2 is how you can get a very clean and crisp focus foreground. When you take a picture of northern light, set your composition, don't move your tripod. Take as much as pictures you can from the northern light activity. When you are satisfied, you have the pictures you like, then focus on the foreground. Just bring the focus manually closer to you. Close down the aperture to something like 5.6 or 6.4 or 7.1, something like that. You don't need to go all the way to f11 or f8 for that matter, but if you like, you can do that as well. So to compensate for the change in the aperture, increase your shutter speed. Take a picture like 2 minutes, 4 minutes long exposure, and then you will have a very crisp and clean, noise-free foreground image. This is exactly what I have done in this photo. And then you can pick your best northern light picture, combine it with this clean foreground in Photoshop, and produce beautiful images. The last parameter I didn't talk about so far was white balance. What white balance should you use for taking picture of northern light? You will be surprised when I say you can leave it at auto white balance. If you wonder why, watch this video, which I explained exactly why you can leave your white balance at auto when you're taking the pictures. Until next video, good luck Aurora hunting and good luck with your photography.